Hello and welcome to episode 228 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right, just a couple of regular guys drinking some irregular beers, talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
That's right. Also, this week we have an awesome episode. Very excited. We don't talk about these things very often, but we have a very interesting topic. We're talking about formats in Magic, but almost specifically like fan-made formats. So we're going to go through some of the ones that we've seen in the past, how they've been adopted, how they've worked out throughout Magic's history. So this is cool. We get to venture into a little different space here. But anyway, as always, each week we bring a beer, we drink it, we rate it on scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap this week?
All right, this week we actually have two beers that we are excited to try. I'll let Zach explain why in a minute, but let me introduce the two beers. They're both from a brewery called Ilium. And one is an Oktoberfest, which is a German-style fest beer. We've had those on the show before, and you know that we are actually fans of that style.
We
And
are.
then we have Trojan Sun, which is a wheat beer. So the Oktoberfest is 5.6. The wheat beer is 4.1%. And this is a brewery out of New York from your visit out there. So I'll let you take it away and tell us a little more about this and about why maybe there's two tonight.
Okay, so basically, this is a beer that's been in our fridge for a while, obviously. I went out to New York since, in October. And I really wanted to get beers for the show. And I was going around drinking some different breweries. And right before I went to this one, I went to another one that was in the city. And it was really, really awful. It was so bad. And if you've ever made your own beer before, you'll know that there's like off flavors to it, but you're like kind of proud that you made it yourself. So you're like, this beer kind of sucks, but it's okay because I made it. So I'm just going to keep drinking it. This brewery was selling those beers and you could taste it in every different, like, to be fair, I did pick all the random wacky flavors because of course I'm going to try whatever random wacky flavors they have, but oh my god, it was brutal. I got like a flight and I was like, I hated them all. And it was like, these are really bad. So I didn't finish any of them. And I was also
flight
driving
too. Those aren't big beers.
Yeah, it's true. I did have to drive at some point, so I was very conscious of like
Sure,
what
like I'm not going to
alcohol.
waste alcohol
Yeah.
consumption on this.
So like, were they bronze for sure? Probably. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But that was my
Yes.
headspace. That was my headspace going into this other brewery, and I finally found this place. A lot newer, very exciting. They have very like, slick stuff around. And the bartenders were just like chatting. They gave you a pretzel for free with every beer that you had, which was nice. So they're like warm, soft pretzels, which was really cool. They had a free photo booth. There's a lot of cool stuff that was nice about this spot. And I enjoyed the beer when I was there. So I'm like, boom, doesn't matter. I'm going in blind, picking up whatever cans they had. Because I think the beer that I drank on tap was not the same as these.
Gotcha.
Because they didn't have the same ones canned. Because it was...
Yeah,
like,
that's pretty... That's not
common.
that unusual. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is stuff we were able to can before. We haven't canned any of this stuff that's on tap. So I grabbed these. We switched them, whatever. But then after a couple months, I found them in the back of my pantry. Remembering like, oh, I had extra. I forgot that I got extra ones. So I did drink a couple of these, and I'm a little nervous that they are not... the canning something happened in the canning process and they are no longer fresh, which is normally something you don't worry about that much. I just, because this brewery is so new, I was a little worried about it. And so I decided we were just going to tie both of these beers together in this episode because I didn't want to drink one bad beer. I wanted to drink them both together and get it over with if it was going to be awful. That was kind of the idea. But I also think it kind of ties in with what we're talking about this evening, which is formats that are made by fans that might get adopted by Wizards or might not get adopted by Wizards, be kind of left to the wayside. Sometimes the new brewery or the new format seems really cool and exciting, but then sometimes it might turn a little sour, and we will kind of have to wait to find out. We don't always know. Something that seems really promising in the moment might turn out bad, or it might actually appreciate with age and get even better. And it's really, really hard to know which ones are which ones while you're figuring it out in the moment. So yeah, it's a little dicey, but we thought it worked. I think it works out with
I
the,
like
the
that.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple thoughts that I want to get out quickly. One is that, like, this is, to me, one of the side effects of, like, everyone knows the New York beer scene is great. Like, they have some of the best beers in the world that are being made there. But one of the sort of the other side of that is that there are so many breweries and so much going on. Some of them are also going to really suck. And
It's true.
It's just like really high variance because there's that craft beer culture. And so I think around here, for a craft brewery to succeed, they have to at least like not be terrible. And I'm sure you could find one that sucks, but they would only be around for a flash. Maybe that's true in New York too, but it just makes me think, like, I've never had a professional brewery serve me something that tastes like a bad homebrew. Like, that's never happened to me.
Yeah. So, and to be fair, like, this was, when I say New York, I'm talking about New York State. So we were upstate, like high upstate New York.
Oh, sure. I knew that, but I guess the listeners.
Yeah. So I'm not talking about New York City. And so this was in Troy, which Troy is like close to Albany. It's a pretty small town. And so it's very cute. It's nice. You should actually stop by if you're in the area. But I was very surprised with the one brewery that gave me the unpalatable beers. Where I was like, where you almost are like, should I go and say, I can't drink this, like I need something else, or just hold it in and leave?
It's so awkward, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
someone needs to tell them that they're making beer that people don't want to drink. But I don't want to be the person to tell them. That's for sure.
Which, like, and I was hoping that they would be really good, because
Right,
I
of
wanted
course.
to. Well, I also wanted to only go to one brewery because I wanted to get beers and then go to dinner and go home or go to the
Right.
hotel. But instead I was like, now I have to go to another. Oh no, I have to go to another brewery and drink more beer. Oh no, this is horrible.
Yeah.
What a brutal life this is. But anyway, that's a long story for why we're drinking this Oktoberfest in March. And
But- The second thing I did want to try, and this could be a
Okay.
total failure because I haven't studied in a while, but I want to try to give people the flavor of what you probably tasted that night, which is, so when you brew beer, a big part of it is putting yeast in the beer. What the yeast does is it eats the sugar that you've extracted out of the grains into your barley water. And because yeast will kind of seek out the highest caloric food source, essentially, it will get rid of the shit that it had in it already to make more room for more sugar, and it'll eat all the sugar. And that stuff that it gets rid of into your beer is gross. And so if you do it properly, you've given it just enough sugar to eat all of it, but then it's still hungry and it eats back up all the crap that it left in your beer. And if you don't do it right, that crap stays in your beer. It's very, like, rudimentary way to look at it, but essentially that's what's going on. So here's the part, let's see if I could do it. There's diacetyl, which I think tastes like butter. And I think acetaldehyde is the one that tastes like sour apple. And so these are the off flavors that if you've ever made beer yourself enough times, you will encounter these flavors, and you know exactly what Zach is talking about when you taste a beer that tastes buttery or sour, but not intentionally sour, like a sour beer.
Yeah.
And it's super gross. So like it's exactly what he said. Where you're like, well, I made this, so you know what? It kind of tastes beer adjacent. But yeah, like that buttery,
And
or the
it's like I have
unwanted sour Jolly Rancher
cases
thing.
and cases and cases of this.
Yeah.
So I have to drink it.
And to get it from what seemingly is a professional would be quite a shock.
So we cross our fingers that none of those pop up this evening. But I
And
cannot...
Ryan, if you're listening to this, feel free to correct me if I got any of that wrong. But I'm sure most of it was an
Yes.
approximation of the truth.
Ryan is our main brewer in the Discord, so he knows all about everything beer. If you want to know things about beer, go to the Discord. It's great. It's a great place to learn things about beer, but also about Magic and formats. And we play Cube and a bunch of stuff. It's a lot of fun, but we get to chit chat, which is the best part.
But he was like instantly good at brewing, so he may never have tasted either
Bad
of these
beer?
off flavors.
I would believe that. I really do. Also, this is probably a good chance to say thank you to all of our patrons out there. We got a couple new ones. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. This is so nice. It feels really good. You're helping us pay for our beer budgets. Just kidding. You don't always have to pay for beer. You also help us just make sure we have nice audio and visual quality for the podcast. So I really appreciate all of you out there who are supporting us on Patreon. And if you aren't, think about it. Really appreciate it. It helps us a lot. And we send you some tokens and stickers in the mail to be part of the group. You are a regular of the podcast, and we really appreciate you. Anyway, wow, that's been a really, really long What's on Tap. So let's get into it. We have some magic news. Sorry, that's way too early. We haven't even cracked the beer yet. Oh my God,
I was going to
Jeff.
say.
How have I ever forgotten to crack the beer? All right, here we go. We're cracking the beer right now. All right, Jeff, here we go. Are you ready for the first sip of this? I know it's nerve-wracking, but
Yeah, let's do it.
okay. All right. All right. We have some magic news. Next week is March 27th and 29th. That weekend is the next Arena Direct event. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Play Booster boxes. But if you're not interested in that, there's also a Pioneer Metagame Challenge. Nice events. The one nice thing I wanted to say is that this Arena Direct event, it's the last Arena Direct. Apparently, Wizards has heard us. Because, if I'm not mistaken, you can play sealed up until you play the Arena Direct event. They don't have the sealed stops on Tuesday. And then you have 3 days before the actual Arena Direct, and you have to just, not practice.
I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I log in on Wednesday and I can play sealed.
And see. All right. Well, I'm crossing my fingers that it is in fact true that we'll be able to play sealed all the way up to the Arena Direct. But really cool. Nice events. And Pioneer, funny that that's the one for next week, because brings us into kind of our discussion, which we're just going to jump into right now. Formats of Magic, and specifically fan-made formats. So obviously when Magic first started, the only format was cards I own .deck. Quickly people started trading with each other, and then stores were opening packs, and you could buy the secondary market opened up, and you started being able to buy individual cards. Nothing Richard Garfield intended, and the game obviously exploded from there. After a few sets came out, you had to figure out, could we have a format where you don't have all the powerful cards from the first set? And they eventually kind of invented, as we kind of got deeper into stuff, there's Type 1 and Type 2. Type 1, I believe, was just every card, and Type 2 was like only 2 years of cards, which is what we call standard now. Obviously, things have changed since then, but as Magic has gone through all of its journey and its history and everything, we've had a bunch of different times where players have come together, made a format because they felt like the formats that were available to them were not what they were hoping for. And sometimes those formats got adopted by Wizards, and sometimes they did not. Obviously, the ones that got adopted by Wizards got a lot of support, got really big, got to be shown on the biggest stages. And the ones that were not adopted tended to whittle away and kind of fall by the wayside. And rarely do they have such vigor to keep going into the future. So, Jeff, why are we talking about this right now? Is what I kind of want to bring up.
Yeah, great point. So, why are we talking about this right now? Because there is a new format that is community driven, that is that's kind of taken the community by storm a little bit.
Yeah.
And we were kind of thinking, like, for a lot of people, this would be the first time they've seen something like this. And it's very exciting, and it's very cool.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it sound like this is a super common thing that happens all the time. You know, I've been playing a very long time, and I've seen this a few times. But we have kind of seen this type of thing play out before. And so it's kind of cool to take a look back, see what happened those times, take a look at, well, what's different now from those times, I think is an important thing to kind of dissect. And just sort of understand the pros and cons of something like this happening. So, of course, I'm talking about planar standard. We've alluded to it a few times on the show. And planar standard is kind of a return to what standard would have been like, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, where the cycle was 2 years long. So instead of the current 3 years of sets, it was 2. And Universes Beyond sets just weren't a thing. Or at least they weren't standard legal. They were maybe happening in modern, alternative, maybe modern, or like
Commander
even just
or,
very specialized sets that you could buy a few cards of, but they were never standard legal. So for some of us, that was kind of the glory days of standard, and so it's what attracted me to this format immediately. Was this is going to feel like the standard that I grew to love 4 or 5 years ago. And so, it's understandable why there's a lot of hype around it, not to mention that the creators or the maintainers of it are pretty active and like running tournaments about it and sharing people's deck lists, and kind of they're doing a good job of creating a community, which really is the most important thing. Like the actual technical details of the format are less important than can you market it and get it out there.
Exactly, and get people excited about it and playing. Yeah. And so some of the technical things about it is that it's a 2-year rotation. No Universes Beyond sets are in it, just to make it easier to digest. And currently, that means there's only 5 sets that are legal in the format. So they're always going to have foundations. That's number one. Their foundations will always be legal in planar standard until there's another foundations type format or set that comes out. But currently it's just Eternal. Then you have Aether Drift, Tarkir Dragonstorm, Edge of Eternities, and Lorwyn Eclipsed. And we'll get Secrets of Strixhaven and then also Reality Fracture before it rotates in 2027.
Right.
So that means that at the end of this whole cycle, there's 5 right now, 2 more are coming. There will only be 7 total sets in the entirety of standard. Planar standard. Currently, in regular standard, there are 15 sets. At the end of this year, there will be 20 before it rotates. So, pretty crazy. Obviously, things will that this is going to be the longest Standard will have been because we're skipping rotation in August and it's going to January. But it's only adding like, I guess it's adding like 3 sets maybe. But still, like, it's a lot. It's a lot of sets. And personally, the excitement for me and the reason why I'm kind of interested in Planar Standard is that brewing around anything. I'm not a big brewer myself, but I enjoy making decks with small card pools like limited sets, right? I like sealed, I like draft. And Standard used to be the other one where it's like, well, I could actually brew a deck because there's only so many sets you can work with. But now that Standard is so gigantic, it just feels extremely daunting. And there's so many different cards that kind of are redundant effects of each other. It's starting to feel like it's just a little bit, it's a lot. It just feels like a lot. Which is why Planar Standard seems so attractive.
And the flip side of that, too, is like, no matter what kind of effect you want, there is a hyper-pushed version of it that exists. That should be the one you play. Yeah. Which also kind of reduces the appeal of brewing and deck building, where it's like, oh, if you want a card that does this, this is your guy. You have to play this one. Yeah, you want to like Reanimator target, although that's a bad example because there are 2 different Reanimator decks in Standard, I guess. But like, you want a creature that loots. You want Fear of Missing Out. It's just better than everything else that does something like that. You know, like. Yeah. And so I've had that same experience where brewing is kind of fun again because the power level of the deck you build is so much lower, but in a fun way, I find, where it's not just like good stuff soup or, powerful formats tend to converge to what decks can find the best cards quickly, which just means like filtering. It's just all about drawing as many cards as possible as quickly as possible and finding the cards that really take over the game. This format's not about that because there's not enough sets to have that kind of like, you just have raw power and raw filtering ability. You just can't do that. So I don't know, yeah, that's been my takeaway from brewing with it is like, it's not only much more manageable to brew a completely new deck because there's only so many cards, like you said, but it's also like, hey, I want a card that like I was looking for a Tormenting Voice type effect, and I was like, there are like 3 options, they're all kind of bad, and I have to choose which one. Like, do I want to play this because there's not a great option, or if I do, which one do I want? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It was kind of interesting again, instead of just, just play this one because it's just play like Winter Night Stories because that's the best in every deck. And it's like, I could play that, but it's not good in my deck in this format kind of thing. So, yeah, I don't know. It was fun to brew again. And I just was building like Black Red Monument, which is a Pro Tour deck in Standard. But I was like, a lot of the cards that they play, I just can't play. So,
what can I do?
Like I mentioned, Fear of Missing Out. And so it's like, whoa, we're playing some stinkers, but they synergize with our deck. And do they synergize enough to, justify inclusion? Whereas Standard deck building is always like the raw power level. Every card in your deck is super, super high.
Exactly. And it's the kind of thing where like, there's a lot of cards in Standard currently that are like, I and other people are tired of seeing or tired of playing with, right? It's like, we're talking about like Badger Mole Cub, even though that recently came out, the Lessons package, Grand. We're talking about anything from Bloomburrow. We're talking like Enduring Curiosity, stuff that like anything Pixie related, things that have been like around for a while now that were just like, I don't want to have to deal with this card anymore. This is a new fresh start. Obviously sets or formats will have their staples. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, And good cards should be good cards. I'm also not saying that either. And I don't think that any of these should be banned either. I know there's a ban announcement coming up soon, so I'm not talking about any of that stuff. But if you're looking for a fresh start or fresh format, this is one of the ones that doesn't have any of the things because either those cards have rotated or they're from Universes Beyond, so they're not part of this format. And I also want to make a nice point that, like, this format was not created to say, like, fuck you to Universes Beyond, right? A lot of people are kind of thinking about that, being like, oh, this is specifically because they don't like Universes Beyond. No, it's because they... Literally, the creator, we had this in our Discord. We have someone who's very emphatic about this format in our Discord, and I love them for it, and they're fantastic, and I love them getting us updates. It's wonderful. But the creator was specifically saying, like, over the summer, during the VV terror, they went to their LGS to play some Standard. And they were the only person there. Nobody showed up to play Standard because VV was everywhere. It was annoying, and people didn't want to play the format. And they just had to go home by themselves, you know, just like, oh, that sucked. And that's, if you've ever had that happen to you, it's a really, like, you show up for the draft and nobody's there. And, like, it's just like a really sad experience. Especially for us who have, like, kids. I get to say that now. But if you have a night that you get away and then the thing doesn't happen, like, that's so brutal.
Oh,
like,
man, I can't even, I didn't really put that in, like, context.
Like, imagine that, like, you, like, you know, get the permission, kind of be like, okay, thank you to my wife for taking care of the kids all night while I'm going to be gone doing a thing for fun. I skip out all the bedtime stuff. Like, I'm just going to go do this thing. And then you don't even do that thing. And then that favor is kind of, like, washed away. And it was just, like, a whole horrible night, right? So that's basically what he had. And he was like, I feel like people are upset about this. Let me build a format. And he's been working on it ever since. And it's picking up a lot of traction right now in our eyes because we've been hearing about it. But we're also kind of getting interested into this thing. Which kind of brings us to the point of how much effort do you want to put into a new format? There have been... Well, sorry, Jeff, you were about to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted, because you kind of touched on this, so I think let's just dive in. If we're selling it, we're selling it. Like you mentioned, there are some cards you don't want to play against, and you listed a bunch of things that aren't legal. I kind of wanted to just go through the standard metagame tier list and look at these decks and be like, are these viable? And so, if we go through, I just have Goldfish up. So this is like what most people are actually playing. It's not necessarily the best decks. But Mono Green Landfall is number one. Hard no. There's no Badgermole Cub, like you said.
Yeah.
Is It Prowess is second. You know, I'm not saying Is It Prowess isn't an archetype in plain or standard. I'm sure you could build an Is It Prowess deck, but it's not going to look anything like the standard version for one big reason. And this is one of the reasons I'm most excited about this format, Zach. And you sort of covered it, but you didn't. You mentioned it by name.
I didn't hammer it.
Yeah. And there's a certain blue 1-drop that I think can get the fuck out of my games because it's been 3 years. And it's not allowed anymore in this format. And so you mentioned... all cards from Bloomburrow, not legal, which I love because I've had enough Bloomburrow. Because when they print a set at the start in like September that is just that strong, it just never fucking goes away. And you know what? No Storm Chaser's talent is enough to convince me to play this fucking format. So yes, Is It Prowess may or may not be a good deck in plain or standard. I have no idea. But I could tell you what, it's not going to be fucking Storm Chaser's talents and Boomerang basics, okay? There's going to be none of that shit because neither of those cards are legal. So fuck those cards. Third most played, Is It Lessons? No, obviously not. Fourth most played, Dimir Excruciator. No Superior Spider-Man. Fifth most played, Dimir Midrange. Maybe, again, similar thing to Is It Prowess. Could be a deck, but there's no Kaito in this format, so it's a completely different deck. Next is It Spelementals? Elementals is a thing. There's no Eddie Mark Crab. There's no the fire one. So it's a different deck. Jeskai Control. Got nothing to say here. I think Jeskai Control's a real deck.
That's a real deck. Yeah. That actually works out. Yeah.
Zorius Tempo. There's no Aang. Mono Red. It's a deck, but I don't think it's good. Harmonizer. I also think it's a deck. Banter Bending combo. No. And Simic Ouroboros.
Yes.
I don't think... Yeah, but it's not the same because there's no Cub. So it's not like...
It's no Cub, but
as explosive.
It did... I'm pretty sure that did win one of the last tournaments, was Ouroboros.
Yeah, that's... Simic... was it Simic? But maybe, yeah. Simic Ouroboros. Still a deck, but there's no, like, turn 3...
Turbo
Ouroboros where you have 5 creatures out. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever.
It's true. Yeah. And like you don't have as much redundancy. You don't have like bristly bills and stuff. It's just like you have like your Llanowar elves into Ouroboros and stuff, and you can do the rhythm of nature. What is that card called? The one from Tarkir. But anyway,
yeah, you can still cast that card, but without Badger Mold, that card's not as busted, right?
Exactly.
So of those 12 decks, like 6 of them are even still possibilities, and all 6 of those are going to look very, very different. With the exception of Jeskai Control, I kind of think that's mostly the same.
I think it's basically the same, to be honest.
It's still like a Shiko kind of, value engine deck, which it makes sense why I think this deck kind of sucks in Standard. Because it's a planar Standard deck trying to play Standard.
It doesn't have Lightning Helix, but everything else,
no Lightning Helix is pretty big, though. But I think this is still, a real deck. Oh, and it wouldn't have No More Lies, either.
Correct, yeah. So there's a couple key pieces that are the ones that piss me off the most, where I'm like, I think I could kill them. And like, oh, never mind. Lightning Helix, and there's no way.
Yeah. But it still has Shiko and Meringue River Regent, and both Consult the Star Charts and Stock Up are legal in the format.
Yeah.
So.
But there's definitely room to brew. And one of the things I'm most excited about is that in the last tournament that they had, Jund Goblins made it to the top. That was playing Taster of Wares, which is a card that I was excited about.
Yeah.
And so it was doing basically what I wanted to do with the Goblins deck. And so I was like, this is exciting.
And actually, people are trying out basically all the Lorwyn main Kindred decks, and like I think I just saw a post in the Reddit that seems to be claiming that Elementals is the best deck in the format, and
I could see it.
It's just playing all of the like really busted Evoke Elementals with like Ashland to be able to cast all that stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, it seems like a cool deck, but. These are real decks. You want to play elves? Real deck in this format. You want to play goblins?
Kithkin?
Real deck in this format. Kithkin?
Yeah, all this stuff. So, which is what they're supposed to be, right? If you can't build... Like, imagine back when Phyrexia All-Be-One comes out and the Toxic deck is available, but you can't play it at all because everything else is just too powerful. What a fucking bummer, man. Like, how awful would that be?
Right.
And this is part of the reason why we were joking about the Pioneer Metagame Challenge earlier, is because Standard has killed Pioneer because it's so big that like we don't need an in-between from Standard and Modern because it's just such a weird, awkward space.
Yeah.
And so then like Standard has become Pioneer in a way. That like it's just not necessary.
Current Standard feels closer to old Pioneer than old Standard.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. To the fact like if I can't list on my hands what the sets are, if I can't remember them because there's so many, like we've kind of lost.
Yeah, you hit that thing where like, is
Standard.
that set legal in Standard?
I can't remember.
You should just know that. That's the point of Standard. There's only 5 or maybe 7 at most, kind of thing.
Yeah, like 8 if it's been a big year or whatever. But like, you only have 8 for like 2 months before the next set comes out, and then it's reset back to 4. Yeah. So like, or I guess 5 or whatever. But like, I think that the and tell me if I'm wrong. Like this change was made for paper players. The 3-year change was like,
Well, that's
hey,
what
paper
they
players.
said, right?
Yes.
Like, you never know. What WOTC says is the motivation is all we can sort of
Yeah.
go with.
But the thing is that the problem, the big problem, is that like they did two things concurrently, which was make standard 3 years and double the number of sets that we had every year.
Yeah.
And so that just compounded on itself, as opposed to being like, yeah, let's see if instead of 8 we have 12 sets. What would that be like? We're not even at the end of the year and it's already 15. You got to be kidding me. Come on, get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy.
We went from 8 to like 20 real quick.
Real quick. And that's just wild. So anyway, we'll see. Like, planar standard seems really cool. The fact that they have like tournaments happening, the Discord is like thousands of people. You can kind of play the format. This is like where we kind of go to the cons of the format. So all the pros are like, it's a brewing paradise. It's easier to it's easier to brew with. You can explain it very simply, all that kind of stuff. The cons are that it's not supported by Wizards. There is not a queue on Arena. So if you want to play, you have to get a game through this Discord server. Which is, honestly, it's not that bad. Like, it's very active, so there's lots of people all the time. So it's not like you would be sitting not getting a game. But it doesn't have the same feel of just sitting down, cracking a beer, and just jumping on the ladder. Like, it doesn't have that. There's a lot more, like, technical, finicky stuff you have to do. Which, like, will happen with community-run stuff. You have to engage with the community, which is a good thing, but it doesn't have the same feel.
Sometimes you want to just do the whole, like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to play Magic. And
Exactly.
I want to click a button and be randomly paired and play Magic. You know.
Yeah, and I don't want to have somebody talking to me about the format afterwards or talking to me about the cards I picked for my deck. I just want to play. Like, I want to drink a beer
and then I
and
just
play.
want to jam the next game. And
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
necessarily want to play against the exact same deck or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which was probably or the same person where you have like a knight playing against them, which is not terrible, but it is not always something that I'm interested in doing. Like, spending maybe even the 30 minutes trying to make sure I can find a game, that's almost like I could be done with basically I have time for a match and I'm gonna
Right.
go to sleep. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
that's a huge bummer. So you can take your planar standard deck into regular standard queues and try to play against other people.
That's
That
what
is
I've
something
done.
you can do. I've done that as well.
Yeah.
So then you kind of have like a little extra badge of honor when you win. You're like, yeah, and I only played with planar standard cards.
Exactly. That's my favorite part.
Yeah. I also did that with Pauper because I'm playing at a Pauper Discord like tournament right now, and lots of fun. Standard Pauper, really cool format, but another like kind of I don't know, community run type of format, which has been getting me in the mindset of community run stuff. So I think the fact that you have to find a game on the Discord server is a big bummer. And the fact that because, like, one of the things I like about community run formats is that there's the hope that Wizards will see you one day and give you the support that you need. Modern was this way, right? Modern was created by a few people. It spread like wildfire because the two formats that they could play was Type 2 and Extended. I guess Type 1, but people didn't play Type 1 that much. I think technically that's like vintage.
Right. Type 1 was like, if you had the cards, you played it. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get those cards, though.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Type 2, and then Extended was kind of like the pioneer of, it was like super standard. And there's also Type 1.5, which made it really confusing. But I think that might have been Extended, and then they changed all the names at some point. Anyway, Modern was around the time when the Modern card frame would come out. And the number of sets, I can't remember how many sets were in it. but it wasn't like when they first made Modern, it wasn't like a crazy card pool. It was just like, hey, let's just play with all the Modern frame cards because it's easy to remember if it's legal or not, and see. And then it was on Magic Online, and people got really excited about it. And then eventually Wizards was like, hey, that's actually a great idea. Let's adopt this. And it became a huge tournament format, and it became like Premier, right? And that was probably one of the most successful, probably the second most successful fan-made format. Because, well...
And it was a huge thing for Magic, too, because they had, like, committed to making all those sets on Magic Online kind of thing. And for some of the older sets, they were backfilling. Very similar to what we saw in Arena with Pioneer, right? Where they're like, okay, we'll backfill to this format, but, like, going forward, you get everything. And so Modern just became super popular on Magic Online as well, because it's like you can actually play the same thing that you would play in paper. Whereas, like, if you wanted to play Legacy and Vintage, for the longest time, there were just cards that weren't there. You know, like... so I think that played a huge part in it, too. And the thing I was going to say is, like, I'm not a Magic historian, so I don't know how much of that Type 2, Type 1.5... all that was actually influenced by players being like, hey, we can't play Type 1, or like how much of that came out of that too, I don't know. But Modern is kind of the famous one where it's like nobody has these cards. Like there's a very natural point here of this Modern card frame. Like, can we just make that the new format?
Yeah, exactly. And so that was probably one of the biggest success stories, where obviously the most successful one is Commander. EDH, as it was originally known as Elder Dragon Highlander, famously made by a bunch of judges in between, like at the end of a day, where it's like the point of the game was that it would get so complicated you have to be a judge to know what would happen. Like that was part of the fun of it. We could play with a bunch of judges, 4-player multiplayer, and you had to use the original Elder Dragons that were from Legends. That was like part of the deal. So they had just kind of done this thing, and then eventually it slowly built, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and then is now the most popular format by a lot, and is not keeping Magic afloat, but it's like that's the format. Like if you talk to people on the street and they vaguely know Magic, they know Commander. That's kind of where they are, which is just the reality. Not really bad or good, but just is what it is. And so those are the huge success stories. But there have also been unsuccessful, like fan-made formats. Frontier was one that is more recent in people's minds. Which
that's
Jeff,
the one that
you know
I actively remember. I remember going to Face to Face and people, which is a card store in Toronto, and people talking about this format. And so let me tell you what Frontier was. Frontier was a format that basically wanted to be Modern again, but like Modern itself had gotten, Modern originally was like the barrier to entry on these legacy formats is so high. Let's just have a new cutoff so that more people can play. And then, of course, time goes on, and then Modern itself becomes that format. That is, the barrier to entry is so high because you need these old, super powerful cards that are hard to come by, and they don't print anymore, or at least not too often. As someone who didn't join, 15 years ago and have the money to buy all these cards and stuff, how can I play in a similar format that rewards mastering a deck? Like, it's not constantly rotating like Standard. It rewards long-term sort of investment, but isn't like that prohibitively expensive to join. And so people came up with Frontier, which was, I think, Magic Origins in Onwards, but the point explicitly was to avoid the fetch lands, because fetch lands were reprinted in Khans of Tarkir, so they were like, okay, everything after Khans of Tarkir is fine, so there's no fetch lands. And it actually kind of took off. Like, it was very popular in Japan. I remember there were a lot of stores in Japan that would run these big Frontier events, and they had some crazy cool decks, and I remember looking at those and my phone being like, that format sounds sweet. Like, that's what I want to play. Just giving me totally the same, like, planar standard vibes as I'm getting now. It's like, yeah, that's the format I want to play. But it didn't take off in the sense of, at least where I was, you couldn't really. I think I maybe Face to Face ran like a couple of them. I wasn't able to make it.
I know, like,
I
one
vaguely
person
remember
who was
them
into it. Yeah,
sort of dipping their toe in, testing the waters, but I don't think it necessarily did well enough for them to commit to it. Face to Face has a huge, and always has, just has a huge modern fan base. Like, a lot of the players who play there consistently play modern, so they've always had a big modern scene. You'll notice a lot of the tournaments around here are modern as well. And so Frontier kind of didn't really jive with the player base. Like, it was the point was, we can't play modern, let's play this other thing, and that didn't.
All the players were like, I just play modern, let's play modern.
Just play modern. Like, why would I play that? I would prefer to play modern. Meanwhile, I was like, I'd rather play that other thing.
Yeah, I don't have all the cards for the decks in modern.
Yeah, and for those listening too, you have to remember this is way before the straight to modern prints. They
this is before Modern Horizons.
This is way before that. Modern was just like when a new set came out, maybe one or two of the cards were relevant in modern.
Yeah, the only things that were like quote unquote like modern sets were like Modern Masters, which were the purpose was to make reprints for cards that you needed so that people could play modern.
Right.
They eventually stopped doing those and decided that it would be more profitable to print cards straight to modern, which it was, but it also kind of ruined modern a little bit.
It definitely changed it, right? Like, so anyways, that's what Frontier was. And it kind of died out a little bit, but mostly when Wizards introduced Pioneer. So Pioneer was not the same as Frontier, but in my opinion, it was very clearly inspired by the success that Frontier was seeing. And the idea was the same, which was let's make a more accessible, like more recent modern, and let's explicitly avoid the fetch lands. And Wizards took a slightly different take on it. They went further back and just banned the fetch lands, which I thought was fine. But so, like, Frontier itself maybe isn't a format anymore, but it's kind of is Pioneer.
Well, Pioneer's not really a format anymore. So
I know, I was going to say it's a bad example because Pioneer's dead now too. But
but Wizards. So this is something that Wizards also likes to do, which is like they make formats, and during this time when they made Pioneer, they also were making a lot of other formats at the same time. Sometimes it's just in the ethos that you're just like, let's make some formats. So around the time they made Pioneer, that's also when they made Brawl. So originally, Brawl was a standard rotating commander format where they wanted to make sure that commander players were buying new product. And remember, every time Wizards makes a format, it has to be driven by sales, of course, because they're a company.
Yeah.
When fans make formats, it's driven by community and accessibility and, like, I guess, interest. So it's one of the worries of mine with Planar Standard that it will never get picked up by Wizards because it specifically makes it so you have to buy less cards to play. And they're not interested in people playing less, like buying less cards. They want people to buy more cards. So we probably will never see Planar Standard on Arena. I just wanted to get that out there.
Let's talk about that, though, for a second. Because I think part of the story we've been telling is that Wizards is willing to listen to these community formats.
That's true.
And say, hey, there's interest in this. And to your point, what they're seeing is dollar signs. And, they're the guys with dollar signs in their eyes. And again, it's not necessarily it's the Hasbro elites who are saying,
Yes. And the shareholders that are pounding
right.
on the
So, sweeping all that under the rug. Players are saying, we are interested in this. Mm-hmm. And I would buy into your game if this was a way I could play. And then Wizards is saying, okay, I've seen enough interest, let's act on this. They have shown a documented propensity to actually make these community-driven formats a reality. So that's a good thing. But your point is valid that, what is planar standard inherently? It's don't buy the Universes Beyond sets. Basically. And only play with the cards that you have.
in-universe cards, yeah.
And so I would say it's slim to none for Wizards to officially support that because they can't really. They can't.
It'd make it harder for them to get more properties because those properties could look at their official sites and be like, but you have a format that explicitly excludes what we are selling
Exactly.
to you.
They can't be openly supportive of that.
Exactly.
Without a massive reframing. And the reframing does exist, which is how do we make sure in-universe sets sell too? Right? Because I think their idea is that these UB sets sell like hotcakes. They bring in new players and whatever. The format doesn't really matter for that. But sales of the Magic itself are maybe tanking because, and we didn't see that with Lorwyn, but there's a possibility of our own sets don't do well because we've decided the players we're catering to are these Universes Beyond sets.
And the players that want to buy in-universe sets are getting overwhelmed by everything and just burn out and shut off and just kind of disengage completely.
Right.
So
I don't know what it looks like, but they can't have a set that's don't play any of these sets that we're making these deals with. They can't do that.
Exactly. It's they can't ever put it on Arena, but you could play this in stores because stores want you to buy singles and they're interested in you playing in their store in any form, right? So even if they're WPN stores or whatever, they can still host whatever formats they want. So they will push that. So this really feels like something that's starting online and is a Discord thing and is you play on Arena through direct challenges and stuff. But if it was going to become a big, huge thing, would have to go into the LGS to really do that, I feel, and be able to get more traction in people's collections and physical boots on the ground in stores playing these games.
Yeah. And that's a very literal interpretation of will this exact format be officially supported?
That's true. I didn't think about that.
And I think the real thing is if you think this is cool, play it, support it, to be a part of the community. Because what happens is Wizards gets the message that this format is cool. That could mean a bunch of things. That could mean people like 2-year standard. Right?
Yeah.
That could mean people not quite as many sets all the time, right? Now, I guess that I understand that goes against their bottom line and stuff, they just want to print. But does that all have to be standard all the time? Maybe they can rethink that.
They've screwed it up the last couple of years, but
right,
maybe.
Do their new players coming in who are interested in Spider-Man, do they even care about standard? They'll look at that data. And then, the standard players kind of want it to go back to, a manageable number of sets. If you're sending them that information, then... Just
me right here, I think I finally moved from... Not moved, but, if standard was the same number of sets... but half of it was Universes Beyond, half of it was Magic in universe, whatever. 4 sets a year, 2 and 2. I would be fine. I'd be happy. That would be great. Everything would be good.
Honestly,
even if we were 3-year standard, I would be fine with 4 sets a year. Biggest standard format is 12 sets. Smallest is 9, I guess, 8 or 9. I'm fine with that. I think that would work. But the fact that it is so many sets is the problem for me personally.
Yeah.
And the Universes Beyond thing has been less of an issue personally.
I think the time is also an issue for me, because when I was brewing, one of the most exciting things was no Bloomborough, because Bloomborough always has the best version of every effect that you want, always. And it's just like, when you're brewing, you're just like, oh, I'll just go get whatever Bloomborough printed that's supposed
From
to do this.
years ago or whatever.
And I just always have to play against the same fucking thing, which is...
That's true.
A turn
If
one
they-
otter every
fucking
fucking game.
If they could learn that, like, rotation is exciting enough, you don't have to juice the first set of the rotation. Please
Don't
juice the
that
last
set, because
one.
that one's around the longest. That's the one I get
Juice-
sick of so friggin' quickly, but it just takes another 2 years for it to leave.
You have to juice the one right before, like now in the new rotation, it'll be like January to January, right? So you should be juicing the one right before the holidays so that people buy a bunch of it for Christmas
They should be.
and stuff.
They could juice the one they were already juicing, the September one. Like, that'd
Exactly.
be fine.
Yeah, just do that, but don't do it with the first set. It
Not the
really-
January one, man.
But like, how many times has this happened? It was like Bloomborough, Throne of Eldraine. Both of those were right there at the top. It has happened other times. I just don't have them on the top of my head.
Those were the most egregious ones,
But
though.
the
Like
most egregious ones.
Bloomborough, like, every rare in that set's super good, and just like a whole archetype defining card.
And so, anyway, it's very. If you can't tell, it's obviously very obvious and evident that we were excited about this other set, but like a little cautious with it. I also wanted to bring up that fan-made formats can be a lot of different things. Wait. Before we get into that conversation, I wanted to go back to what I was saying about when Pioneer was being made. They were making a lot of other formats, and Brawl was a big one because they wanted Commander players to be in standard rotation and buying standard cards, and it was almost universally rejected.
Yeah. That
There
was a
were-
total miscalculation on their part.
Yes.
Like,
They introduced Brawl in Dominaria just as like an idea, and then once Eldraine came out, there were 4 Brawl decks and this was the big problem. This was the big downfall, I think, with Brawl, was that there were 4 pre-constructed Brawl decks that were legal in standard but weren't part of the set, so that there were certain cards that were really good in standard that you could only buy from the Brawl deck. They were technically part of standard, but not in the draft format, to make it really confusing.
I hated that.
And people had to buy the Corvold deck, was like the one. where it
Corvold
like,
was one of the best cards in standard.
and it was a commander of a precon set for Brawl. And that was so bad.
Plus, I
for
love the sack
everything.
archetype, and that deck was a nightmare. That should never have been. That's not a deck you ever want to be the best deck in standard.
No. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. But, like, that was a problem. The other big thing was that they printed Arcane Signet in those precon decks, which were... people were upset by that because it was really expensive at the time. They printed it into the ground now, which everyone said they would, so it's all fine. That doesn't matter. But the fact that when Wizards makes their own formats, they tend to kind of push it really, really hard. Imagine, like, Pick 2 is what's happening right now. That was what Brawl was like, right? And so they're like pushing it so hard, hoping people will play it. And then the only reason people play Brawl is because it's on Arena. And that's the only way it has like fans, because it's like Commander Light on Arena, and people can scratch that itch a little bit.
God, I hope that's not the real reason that standard went to 3 years. It's for Brawl.
Was for Brawl? Wait, sorry.
Just
Go
so
back.
like Brawl could be 3 years as well or whatever. Like,
No, there's no way. No, because on Arena Brawl is there's
oh,
there's
it's
standard
like
Brawl.
Arena Eternal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like
there is
there's
standard Brawl. Right, I forgot about
yeah,
that. They made that distinction.
and people don't play standard Brawl nearly as much as they play regular Brawl, which is just cards on Arena, 100 card singleton, all that stuff.
I'm glad you brought that up because, so I think that is a reason that Brawl failed. But I actually think Brawl was just kind of doomed from the get-go because this was my experience with Brawl, which Zach and I actually met playing with a friend group, most of whom were Commander players. Even yourself that time mostly was
Myself,
Commander.
I was a Commander player for many years. Yeah,
Everyone, well, they were like limited Commander, right? So we
Yes.
played limited together. That's how I entered.
played draft. Yeah,
And then you guys mostly had your Commander thing. And I remember when Brawl came out, I was kind of like, okay, that seems more interesting to me than Commander because a lot of my issues with Commander were, you know, like everything's been done. There's so many cards that do the same thing. The games are going to take forever. Like everyone just can, you know, whatever cool idea I have to build, there's a better version of it online that I could just look up and it's going to kill in 1 or 2 turns or whatever. So that was part of my aversion to it. And so I was like, this might get me interested. Like now I actually am constrained and I think that makes the deck building more interesting. And so I was talking to that group and basically the unanimous feedback I got from everyone else upon seeing it was like, I don't know why I would ever play this format. Like, there was almost no interest. They were just like, why would I want my Commander deck to rotate? Like, that seems dumb. Like, it's not legal anymore. I just don't get it. I want my deck that I have that evolves but doesn't become illegal or whatever.
yes, and that was the biggest thing. Yeah,
And so I was kind of like, they're trying to get more of us. I think you were right. They're trying to get Commander players to turn over like standard players. And it just was an absolute no-go on that.
just
Like
no-go.
they were confused basically. They were like,
Yeah.
why would I play it? From my perspective, I'm like, that sounds more interesting. I might play with you guys if we did that. But I'm not gonna like spearhead that. I'm not gonna go out and be like, yeah, let's all build. Like, if you guys are doing it, maybe I'll build one and we can have some fun.
yeah. To be fair, we did all build Brawl decks. Like, it did happen.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, I built like a Garna, it wasn't Relentless Rats, but Rat Colony deck.
Right.
Which was where I remembered being like, oh yeah, when your deck is all the same card, it's not fun to play.
Right. Right. That's why this isn't a
Yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah, because like every time you draw a card, it's either a land or Rat Colony, and this, like, this kind of sucks.
I super hate that.
But yeah, it's just so boring. But
Best part of Magic is the draw step, man.
yeah, and it's just like, oh, this
Yep.
thing sucks.
Nope. Yeah.
Nope. So, in actuality, I think you're closer to what it was. If it was like randomly standard players got into Commander instead of the other way around, like their intention completely backfired.
Right.
And
Like,
so
none of the Commander players I knew were actually excited about it. They were like, well,
Yeah.
maybe. And I was like, maybe I'll play. And so it was just a total whiff. Cause
it was a whiff. Which, well, quick pause on that. We are now switching over to the new beer, the wheat beer, and this is the one I'm actually scared of.
oh boy.
As I have already coded Jeff's thoughts with these.
Fully biased.
Yeah, I was originally thinking I wouldn't tell Jeff my concerns, but I do think that I
I'm
have to.
pouring these like they're home brews, where I'm like, no,
Yeah.
don't get the
Oh.
sediment at the end.
I definitely put all the sediment in there, so I'm going to be wrecked. But the point I was making with this is that oftentimes either when Wizards makes a format their own, like what new formats have they made that have really taken off? Like, it's like we've been playing Standard forever. Modern was made by somebody else. Commander was made by somebody else. Legacy and Vintage, sure, like they were barely surviving. They made Pioneer that was kind of like Frontier,
Yeah.
but then they decided to kill it.
And I do think they did some interesting improvements on Frontier as well. I think the idea of like, let's go back a bit further and just ban the cards that we're trying to avoid was a novel idea. Instead of just like, let's try to pick something that avoids all the cards we hate. It's just like, well, there were some cool cards back there too.
It was also just, it made sense because Origins was like a new beginning. You know, it's like a new storyline. Everything's like, it made sense to start there. But the fact that Wizards took that, put a bunch of energy into Pioneer does get screwed over because of the pandemic. I don't want to say that didn't happen, because it did. It was picking up some momentum, and the pandemic happened, kind of ruined in-person play for a while. And then Pioneer was kind of coming back, and then Wizards decided to kill it themselves by like not having any tournaments for it, which will ruin a tournament format. And also
it's
making
a tournament format with no tournaments. Like, who's playing it?
That's just never happening. So that was their own bad. Brawl is still alive, but it's on Arena. And the other are formats that they've made that are on Arena, like Alchemy is kind of their 2-year rotation that we've already talked about, has already basically dead. They do make more cards for it, but it's not nearly as popular as any other format on Arena, excluding Pioneer, of course. Though I think Pioneer might actually be doing better than Alchemy. I'm not really sure.
I don't know. I'd be curious to see the numbers on that, because
I know
neither's doing great.
Yeah, I know I've talked shit in the past about Historic, but it is more popular than the other ones that are not doing so well.
And I've played Historic a few times randomly, and like, I know why that one's not doing as poorly as the other ones. It's better than the other ones.
Yeah,
it's not my cup of tea, but it is better.
Mm-hmm. It is the kind of thing where it feels like when Wizards tries to make a format, it doesn't do well. Like, either they kill it or the community hates it, like, very, very openly. The other thing I want to say, sorry, about Brawl is that was it in Brawl you could have a Planeswalker as your commander? That was like the novel part of it.
Yeah, that was a big part of it.
And that was something that we hated. I remember, as our play group did.
And that was mostly just because they wanted to print a bunch of Planeswalkers that they wanted you people, or you people.
Well, because Wizards
commander players to buy.
But the only reason, so Wizards, we are currently in a Planeswalker light era, where we get one Planeswalker per set, maybe two, but usually about one, and you only print Planeswalkers in universes within sets, because universes beyond sets don't have Planeswalkers, because those are not things in those IPs. So we get, instead of getting 3 per set every year, which is like, I don't know, how many would we get, like 12 or something? We get like 3 or 4 a year. Which I think is great. I'm happy with that. I think a lot of Magic players are very happy that they're like, we don't have a bunch of mediocre Planeswalkers anymore that we don't care about, that just crush you in limited randomly.
I'd be curious to meet the people who like the old way better, but
that would be strange. But traditionally, Commander players have not been interested in Planeswalkers being your commander, because it makes the games longer, because people have to attack the Planeswalker then, and blah, 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 and anything that makes Commander games longer is a bad. Should make Commander games shorter.
Too long.
They should always be shorter. That's what you need to do. Make game actions more important. That's always, to me, that's always bad.
Guess. And if I attack your Planeswalker with my commander, you don't take commander damage, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And you're basically gaining life because people are not attacking you. Also, you don't deal commander damage because your Planeswalker is your commander.
Right.
Unless it's Gideon, it won't be dealing damage. So they, for a long time, this is not really a format thing, but WOTC was very focused on the fact that new players really identified with planeswalkers as like characters. They're like, I'm a planeswalker and I'm playing the game, and this is who I identify with. I don't think I've ever met anyone who was like really, really into that. I've known some people who have liked planeswalkers and cosplayed as them, but I've never met someone who was like, oh, like I need to have this character as my thing. Most of the time it's legendary creatures, and that's why Commander has been so popular, because legendary creatures are much more interesting for some reason than planeswalkers, because there's a million of them. I don't know.
And I grew up, like, I'm biased because I grew up in that era of like, oh, legendary creatures, super cool. I think it's just a little more like a planeswalker is some other being that has these like powers that we don't have. A legendary creature is just like a badass warrior or something.
Yeah.
Right? Like I could be that,
Exactly.
like in theory.
I don't think highly of myself enough that I would be able to traverse the blind eternities to go save different planes. I'm the person who gets saved by the person who comes, and I help them along the way. That's me. Right, that's what I think.
But I could be like, a
The
Mog
squire.
fanatic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. If you're a Mog fanatic, I'll be a Sparksmith. How about that?
But yeah, it's like, I think that's worth mentioning as well. This was a crazy planeswalker time. But it was simultaneously like you would get a lot of planeswalkers, but also the design space on them was extremely limited. Like the number of 5-mana planeswalkers with a +1 that is essentially equivalent to draw a card, a -3 that is essentially equivalent to destroy a creature, and some sort of -9 that is never going to happen, so whatever. The number of that exact planeswalker with different skins and different colors that came out during this time was insane, because every set has like 5 to 10 planeswalkers, and that was just like a go-to
They
design.
did not every year had that many. Not every set. Every set had 3, except for War of the Spark, which had 1 million. And
did I say every set?
yeah, you said every set.
Oh, okay.
Every,
No. Well, okay.
every year.
No, not every set.
Yeah.
No. Like, yeah, every like, yeah, probably every year had like 10-ish,
Yeah,
right?
like at least like 10 to 12.
And we might be similar to that now, I guess. But there were fewer sets before, so every set had like 3 to 5. 5 would be on the upper end, and 3 would be like your minimum. And now we get 1 or 2 per set.
Yes.
And the 1 or 2 we get now are hyper specialized. Like, they're
And
not
colorless.
just generically good. You know what I mean? Like, whereas before, the 3 to 5 would be like the best cards in the set, just because they're generically powerful. And so it's just a very different time, planeswalker wise. And really hitched their wagon to them, and everyone was like, "Who likes this? Do you like?"
It was. They believed new players liked it. They believed, because that's the intro decks for Magic were Planeswalker decks, which were different planeswalkers. Like, they were the same character, but like the card was technically legal in Standard, but so awful that it wasn't playable, because they didn't want them to be bought out by experienced players. So it's always like a 6-mana planeswalker that like pluses to scry 1, like
that
things
was
like
the
that.
era of and they always had like some creature that was their, I don't know,
familiar,
like supporter
that would go
that they could fetch, or
fetch,
they could
yeah.
fetch
So
them, and then they could
And they were supposed to be good ways to learn how to play the game. Nobody liked them, and the idea was, you could take this, and technically it's Standard legal, so you could play in a Standard event, but you're going to get your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
Like, don't take that to us. Like, they basically were like taking like the new kids and just like, hey, do you want to go get your ass beat, and like go like, get the bullies beat the crap out of you? Just like so dumb. Anyway,
none of it made a lot of sense.
It did not make a lot of sense. So what they're doing now is significantly better, in my opinion, as far as like those types of products. But even like the intro stuff. Sorry, but we're getting off topic.
I did want to cycle back to your point, though, that real quick, that you said Wizards adopting your format also isn't necessarily a good thing.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
I've seen this also firsthand just with the explosion of Commander, with these same people who are huge Commander supporters. The complaint that I often hear now is like, what they loved about the format of, deck building around these interesting constraints and like going to build that. Wizards now gives you these decks that are just so prescribed, where it's like, oh, the morph deck. Previously, you'd be like, how do I build a morph commander? Oh, that's interesting. Should it have
It's
morph
so hard,
itself,
so
or
weird.
should it like
Be Animar, so things you get to play them
so I
for
can
free
get
if there's
5
enough counters.
colors
Yeah,
and,
or
like,
whatever.
what's the thing? And then now it's like, oh, you're the morph deck. Oh, there's this 5-color commander that like anytime a card is played face down, draw a card, and anytime like you spend no mana to flip a creature, like draw a card, and like it's always draw a card because that's the most powerful thing. And so basically they're just prescribing the exact best commander for everything, and like you can do something different, but you're just playing a weaker version of whatever the deck Wizards explicitly built to do this is. And so that's kind of just an example of if you're playing a format for fun, Wizards getting their hands on it isn't always necessarily a bonus.
Yeah, they kind of ruin it. They do kind of ruin it. Where and that's
They
when I
squeeze it
stopped.
like it's a business, right? And a business is designed to squeeze out short-term gains. That's what they do.
Exactly.
So they do.
In a capitalist society, that's what they're trying to do. Yeah. The quarterly gains are more important than anything else. And not that I want it to be that way, but it is the way that it is, and you can't fight against that. It's too large for me. So we come back to the question: do we want this format to be sponsored by Wizards or not? Like, is it better that it probably will never be sponsored by Wizards because that keeps its purity, and you could actually continue to enjoy this format and it won't get ruined like Commander kind of got ruined a little bit. Not for all those Commander players out there, I'm not saying that Commander's bad. I'm just saying it's not what it used to be. It was just different 10 years ago.
Yeah, there were way fewer legendary creatures, so you were just a lot more constrained on...
Yes.
When you had an idea, oh, I want to build this deck, you had to try to think of the best commander for it. And
there is like... Pauper has the same thing, where there's like... There is a fight between a format where it's like and people kind of explicitly call out the command zone as like destroying this for Commander, but like when you have something that has gotten so much power from like a community standpoint, some sort of voice that is so strong that the company starts to change the way that they make cards for you because of things that you ask for. Looks explicitly at cards like Smothering Tithe, which were like at the time, every Commander player was shouting, please help us, White needs help, they need ramp and card draw, give us something. And then for years they got a bunch of stuff, and it was like over and over. Here's a new way to draw cards in White, or make treasures in White, and do all this stuff in White. And everyone's like, please stop. That was
enough.
way too much. I wanted 2 cards, you gave me 25 or whatever. Like, that is something that can hurt the format. It's like fan service, which does kind of ruin the excitement of it. And like, even talking about it in a podcast like this, where it's like, if the company starts, if we would have a large enough, following that like things that we said influence the way that the company made cards, that would actually be a problem. And it's, I don't know, it makes me feel like the nicher formats are better. I just wish I could click a button on Arena and play it. That's what I want.
Exactly, right? So that's the pro. The pro is, ease of access. And the con is it might ruin what you actually liked about the format in the first place.
Yeah.
And I want to dive just a little deeper on that. So one of the things, and I think this is a valid sort of thing to think about if we come back to planar standard. One of the reasons that Wizards stated about the move to 3-year standard is that they often have these pockets of like synergies that they release, and then they have a very hard time finding the time to build on that in 2 years. And the 3 years is supposed to give them more time to build out those pockets of synergy. And I have a great example. So when I was looking to build a new planar standard deck, I was like, hey, maybe I can build fairies. Unfortunately, I don't really think fairies is playable in planar standard. And the reason is a lot of the cards that make fairies worth playing were actually printed more than 2 years ago.
Wilds of Eldraine.
Wilds of Eldraine. Namely, the counterspell and the kill spell are some of the nicest ones. But we got the good fairies now. So we got like great fairies that you want to play, but there's no reason to play fairies in planar standard. Like, you just have some good fairy creatures. The reason to play fairies came in Eldraine. And that's kind of one of the, like, I don't know if I want to call it a downside of planar standard, but when they are building these synergies, some of them just won't work with the 2-year cycle of planar standard. And that's going to feel weird if you didn't play back when standard was like this, 8 sets. But that was totally normal back then as well. You would just have pockets of synergy that felt like it should be a deck and just wasn't. And
let's please rewind to the beginning of this podcast where we had Party and then the D&D set come out, and there was no party synergy
at all. Yeah.
Like it looked like it was a home run slam dunk, and they just
threw
it out of bounds, like, for some reason. I don't know. It was like ridiculous.
Yeah. That was the most insane one, because I was like, clearly they're setting up for the D&D set. That has to be. It's all about like having a rogue and a
cleric and a warrior and whatever the other one was.
Very clearly setting up for the D&D set. And then D&D was all about like rolling D20s and had nothing to do with party. It's like, how can this be?
This is so bizarre.
What
and
happened?
It wasn't even that, but they changed the creature types so they wouldn't even fit into the party thing. It was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Are you serious?
Yeah, that was
It was like a bunch of barbarians. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, just make it a warrior, you stupid.
These are warriors. They're
Oh, get out of here. So, another thing about fan-made formats that has come up more recently is the format of Dan. So we've talked about formats that are widespread in the sense that, like, this has changed Magic. They've adopted it into tournament formats, all this stuff. Dan is, if you're not familiar, it's an amazing format. It's a lot of fun, but it's made by this guy that I don't remember his name, who was on Reddit. So lots of great information for this podcast. I'm very happy
Reddit guy.
Yeah. I wish I remembered his name, and I wish I looked it up, but I did not do that, and I'm a couple beers deep, so I'm not going to do that. But
the funny thing is that, as far as I'm concerned, Planar Standard was also invented by Reddit guy. So...
Is it? Wait, is that the same Reddit guy?
Maybe.
Oh,
for all we know, it could be.
It's definitely not.
Maybe he's just a genius.
But Dan was part of a Reddit post from years and years and years ago where there's this one dude he's really into just like crazy creative Magic formats. He made a bunch of them, and Dan was one of them, and he called it Forgetful Fish. So it was originally called Forgetful Fish. And what it was is it's a mono blue deck that splashes red for the flashback cost of one card. And the point of the format is that it's a bunch of different cards, but each player, it's a two-person game. You both draw from the same deck, and the main purpose of the game is that there's only one creature in the deck, and it is Dan, which is a 2-mana 4/1 that dies if you don't have any islands and can only attack your opponent if they have islands. Okay? The rest of the deck is a bunch of brainstorm effects or card selection effects or change the top cards of your library effects and memory lapse. Memory lapse is a counter spell that when it counters a spell, it puts it on the top of its owner's library, which is also your library. So depending on when you counter your opponent's spell, you either make them draw it or you get to draw it. And your opponent only has cards that affect the top of the library. So there's a lot of finicky stuff where you can try to... A lot of the game is kind of mean where you just... If you suspect your opponent is getting flooded, you just try to push more and more lands onto them. And vice versa. So,
all those cards get so much more interesting with shared deck, right? Like
it's very cool. It is a really different way to play Magic, and it is the marquee of highlighting that Magic is a rules system that can be bent to whatever you would like it to be. And it could even be this really fun board game that you play, because Dan is not, there's no deck building involved.
There's a set list.
There's a board game that you sit down with your friend, you get the cards that you get, and you play. Now, more recently in Magic news, there was a secret layer that came out on Monday that was a Dan deck that was made with I don't actually think they made it with him. They did change it so it doesn't splash red. The card that they splash for, I can't remember what it is, but it's like it's 2 and a blue. You get to go get an instant or sorcery from a graveyard, put it back in your hand, and the flashback is like 3 and a red, and then you get to do the same thing. So it's like if you, it's fun because if you have red in your mana base, but your opponent doesn't, because you got your Temple of Epiphany, then if they play the card that gets something out of the graveyard... I was going to ask,
it's a shared graveyard, correct?
It's a shared graveyard, so if they rebuy something from the graveyard, then the card that they just played, you can flash back with your mana, but they can't because they don't have any red mana. And I think that's really interesting.
Sure.
Also because there's a lot of like non-basic lands in the deck, so there's feasibly a way where you could play only non-basic lands so that your opponent can never attack you because you don't have islands.
Right.
I don't know. It's a really cool, fun format. I have a deck for it. It's a blast. It's really hard and it hurts your brain, but that's the point, because you're supposed to be a forgetful fish as you play the fish. Very, very cool. But the reason I kind of bring it up is because this is the biggest one that's ever been made. People have made other versions of this, but this specific one has taken off just because it's so novel and so wonderful to play. And Wizards decided to cash in on it and make their own version with new art for a bunch of cards and sell it for a bunch of money. And it sold out within 30 minutes. So obviously the excitement is there. But it's a reminder that the formats that are best are made by fans, and WOTC will always try to profit off of whatever the fans make. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just something that will happen. So keep an eye out for that. And maybe the formats you should be most excited for or most engaged with are ones that are made by fans, because the ones that are made by WOTC, Alchemy, are probably bad. Because they don't know how to make formats, it's really strange. They know how, and every time they start to get their fingers in them, they kind of ruin the fun. The grassrootsness of Magic makes it so much more fun. And we try to have as much fun as we can with it until it gets a little bit soggy from WotC's
I
little
think
fingers.
that's a great way to frame it, right? Like, to your earlier point, Magic is a rule set, and it allows you to play any game, like any number of games. And the games that the fans are going to come up with are the fun ones. The games that the company whose interest is selling cards are going to come up with are the ones that sell cards.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know about you, but I'd prefer to play the fun games than the ones that drain my wallet.
Exactly. Like, Dan is specifically a way that, like, WotC's not touching it at all. Those are all cards that have been printed before. The only people profiting are game stores and players who get to play with a fun deck. WotC will only get money if you buy the secret layer for Dan because they decided to get new art for it.
That's a long time, right? Like, Dan's been around forever, and they
It's
finally
been
were
around
like,
for a while.
you know what? Let's cash grab it.
Yeah, and so I anticipate that to happen with more stuff as well. When they start to see people's interest peak into a certain direction, they're going to try to find a way to monetize it. That's what they're going to do. That's what companies do. But yeah, players will always try to make formats for other players to enjoy and not be focused on trying to get their money. A company
It's
will
usually
always...
the opposite, right? Like, formats are born out of, like, I can't play the formats that Wizards are pushing because I don't have the money to do that.
Yeah, but like, it's the same thing with Modern, which, like, there's a lot of Modern players that were really upset with Modern Horizons. But I mean, I know there's two sides to that, because I know that some players were saying that they felt like the metagame was stale and they wanted something to shake it up. But I don't know if they necessarily meant inject 3-4 sets into straight to Modern just to do that.
Each one better than the last, kind of thing.
Yeah, because, like, they
Because
couldn't
Modern was
print
always kind
good
of a
enough
tournament
cards into Standard
format. So the type
to
of player
shake
who
anything
played
up. It had to be straight to Modern. I think there's some players that might be part of that camp, but for the majority of it, I think that people are kind of upset with Modern Horizons kind of being the de facto format for Modern now. It's like, but a lot of the cards are from Modern Horizons now.
Yeah. They also definitively went too far on a lot of cards. They pushed right into it. So,
Yeah.
but again, that's like a tournament format, so it's a little different because it's like even people who loved Modern, they weren't casual players ever.
It's true.
I mean, maybe
It's true.
back when the format started, it was maybe more casual. But I think it was always kind of just a tournament format.
Yeah. So yeah, are you saying that tournament formats are it's fine to the churn is necessary? I guess that's what I would try to say.
No, I just mean, like, you were saying some people were asking for shake up, and like it's a little different than what we were sort of alluding to before, of like a lot of formats are created for players to have fun. I think Modern has sort of passed that point a long time ago, where it's really just for
It's not.
well, it's
really
for fun, but it's for those of us who are competitive and try to, like,
Right.
eke out strategic value at every point.
Yeah, less about just a brewer's kind of format. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we do talk about a brewer's format, I can't finish this episode without quickly throwing in there that the best format for players that are looking to just use the rule set and do whatever they want is Cube. Cube is a format that for a long time has kind of just been the de facto if you want to be able to control a lot of the pieces of what you're doing, play Cube. WOTC can monetize it because they put Powered Cube onto Arena. But if you have the cards with your friends and you want to draft, you can draft for free with your cube and do that. And you can have a great amount of fun playing with your own cards that you decided, hey, I want to play a mono white cube. I want to play a combat focus cube. I want to play a only +1/+1 counters cube. I want to play a proliferate cube. I want to play one planeswalker in every pack cube. Whatever you want to do, you can do in cube. So you get to kind of build your own format for your own play group and what you guys like to do.
Yeah.
So that is also out there and available to you. And WOTC, if they do a secret layer, your personal cube, I mean, you'd probably buy that because that would be sick as hell if they just decided to take your cube. But
Yeah.
for the most
They
part, they're
made
not going to be able
yours,
to.
you're definitely buying it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
come on.
but or they better send it to me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, that's a really great way to be able to play Magic for cheap and free in paper. I mean, we can't do it on Arena as easily. We do it on our Discord, obviously, but you're limited to the cards on Discord, or sorry, on Arena.
And I will say, like, Cube, you do need a play group to
Yes, you
play
need
it.
people.
But for those of you who are like trying to get into like building that play group, I think a cube is also a great way to do that because if you just like are going to your LGS, maybe you don't know people that well, but you just start talking cube, the conversation is going to explode. If you're like, hey, I had an idea for a cube that did this, and then people instantly have ideas. They'll be talking to you. And actually having the cube, it's a bit like being a goalie in pickup hockey. Like, you're everyone's best friend, and everyone wants you on their team. If you're the guy with the cube, like, yeah, you're... You'll actually start telling people, no, actually, I can't fit you in this Tuesday, but maybe next Thursday we could.
That's true.
We could get you in for the cube. So.
The other thing about Cube, if you're in paper, I know this is an Arena podcast. I understand. We're the Arena regulars. I get it. I understand. I get it.
But we do have our
it.
own cube. We'll get to that later.
Not even talking about that. But if you want to build a cube yourself as a person who is just sitting here and you're like, dang, all I have is a bunch of basic lands and sleeves, but you also have access to a printer, you can print out your own cards and do whatever the hell you want. You can.
I don't know if people have printers anymore, though.
Do you have Staples close to your house? You can print out a cube for pretty cheap. You have to spend a lot of time cutting out the cards. That's the worst part. But you can do it for cheap as free. And it's great and fun. And even if you do a terrible job, you didn't have to spend a bunch of money to build your cube.
For some reason, I just imagined someone with a pizza cutter just like rolling at these fucking...
Cutting them out. Do it. I built a core set cube, and it was really bad, but it was fun to build, and I learned a lot from it. So build your own cube. Have
and
fun.
There's a lot of resources online too to help you actually do it and keep track of it and organize. I don't know what those resources are, but I know they exist. So
Cube Cobra is a great one. You should use that one 100%. It's easy way to keep track of your cube and all the colors and everything that's going on in it.
And does it have like a recommender system? Like, will it be like, hey, this cube is kind of similar to yours if you want inspiration?
I don't know, but there's a search function, so you can definitely search other cubes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Which reminds me, Jeff, this is completely off topic, but I am interested in cube in general. And whenever I think about building paper cubes, they always have to be ones that can't be made on Arena. And I feel like it's just crazy that we wouldn't be building an invasion, plane shift, apocalypse cube, because obviously that's an IPA cube, and you gotta drink IPAs when you play IPA cube, right?
As soon as you said invasion, I knew where this was going, and I love it. Also because I had like the box of cards that I grew up with had a bunch of that invasion crap in it, so there's a lot of nostalgia there. Of course, I wasn't drinking IPAs at that time, and I'd like to correct that. So
So I am proposing that we need to do this in the future at some point. I have been looking at the cards in the set and have no idea what I'm doing. So I really need some help building this cube. But what you can do, because, you know, for those of you who don't remember these formats of draft, you have to, I think if we play IPA Cube, you have to have the first booster pack is Invasion. The second booster pack is Plane Shift, and the third booster pack is Apocalypse. And
it feels so foreign to people, but that's the way it should be, man.
That's the way it used to be with blocks. And you have them seeded, so there's only 3 uncommons and 1 rare, and you do it right. And get rid of all the bad cards. Yeah, maybe we just Coalition Victory doesn't need to be there. Just leave it out. But I think that would be lots of fun. I would love to get as many arena regulars out there for whenever we do this. So if you're interested in such a thing, and are you in the Toronto area, maybe we can get something together and we play an IPA draft at Fairweather Brewing down in Hamilton, and we drink some IPAs, maybe some high grades.
Oof, they make some good IPAs over there. So.
They really do. They really do. Maybe we'll get a keg and we'll have to finish it before I leave. I don't know. But kind of this point of the episode is, if there's something you're interested in Magic, it does not have to be sanctioned by the company that makes it. You should play Magic the way that you want to play it. And plain or standard seems really cool. I know that I felt super hesitant this entire episode to fully back it. But we are excited for such a format, and that it's around, and that brewing is a possibility. And that it seems like, I don't know, it seems like it could be a good community to continue to foster. And I like this format so far, and I want to play more.
Yeah. I want to play an actual official match of it. Because so far I've just been playing on the ladder, like you said.
Yes. Yeah, I've been playing the Jund Goblins deck, and it has been going with some success.
It's the end of the episode, so forgive me. But I don't know if we ever actually mentioned that it inherits the ban list from...
I had realized that at some point, and I was like, whatever. But yeah, it has the same band list as standard, so
which I think is a smart decision. It makes it officially a subset of standard, so you can just take a list and play it in regular standard. On Arena.
This is one other thing I would like to say. So there was some talk about the name of Planar Standard. All right. It does have a history. Originally, when this format was being created, it was called Type 2. It was a callback to what it used to be back in the day, before like Onslaught, or I think maybe it was Mirrodin, they changed it or something. They decided as a group, they voted and said that's too confusing to be talking about a format that is in the past. They need a real new name, and they landed with Planar Standard. Now, someone was bringing up the point that, hey, maybe Planar Standard is too difficult to remember because everything else is Legacy, Vintage, Modern, Standard, Pioneer. One-word formats. Pauper. So they were thinking, oh, do we just call this Planar? But it's like Planar doesn't necessarily really give off the emotions of what actually the format is. When somebody else had mentioned, this is just talking about a subset of stuff. And Planar could then also mean Planar Commander, Planar Modern, Planar Pioneer, Planar Pauper. And you could use it as a subset of, like, it means no UB cards.
It's a qualifier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and that you could use this to
The only
spread
issue
out.
is that it does change the time range on standard as well. So it's not like unless
that's
the how do you apply it to modern? Do you make it 1 year less and no UB? You know what I mean?
does it does it mean like planar modern is no Modern Horizon cards? Because that's the thing that actually did stuff to modern. Is it like only only
The
standard
planar operator is not clear.
universal? Yes,
Yeah.
I guess that is true. That is true. But it is something that was talked about. So I like the idea of it, but you did point out a huge glaring flaw.
If it was
in
only no UB, I'd be totally on board. But the fact
Yeah.
that it also kind of changes the fundamental
timeline, yeah.
definition of the format.
That's true. That is true. That's a good call out. We'll have to get back to everybody. We'll talk to them on the Discord and figure out exactly what we should do about it.
We should just call it
yeah.
old school. No confusion there.
The joke is that old school is a real format, as well as many others that we didn't bring up. Pre-modern, that's another one that's getting some steam.
Yeah.
Getting some...
Postmodern.
those
Should
are
be
only
one.
Post Malone cards.
You know how in music they do this, where they're like, I think there's a type of music called post rock. I'm like, I feel like rock still exists. I don't know what post rock is.
Yeah,
We should just do that post standard.
that's true. Post standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that in art as well. I mean, that
Yeah.
would probably
Post legacy.
Everything after legacy.
Yeah. Which is most things.
Most everything. Gosh. Anyway, Jeff, do you have any last thoughts on fan-made formats or plain or standard or kind of anything?
Yes, I think the TLDR I have here is like that hype you're feeling about a community-driven format is real, and this has driven a huge part of what makes Magic great. And I think Zach, you nailed it when you said like Magic is like a rule set. It's not a game. It's a universe of games, and there's so many games out there to create and discover, etc. And that's really shown in the history of the game. Like a lot of the formats we love today were originally some guys just being like, hey, this would be a fun way to use these cards that we have. And so don't ignore it, because it's real. That's what it is. But there are pros and cons to community-driven formats versus officially supported. Like, do we even want this officially supported? You know, like, there's a lot to think about on that lens. The big one is, like, how do you engage with it? And so, you know, if they ever make a planar standard tournament that starts after the kids go to bed, then color me interested.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it'll have to be in a different time zone. Somebody more interested in a different country or something, where we could start
Yeah.
at 9:00 at night. That would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I just echo everything that you said. Magic is awesome, and I love to see when new people have new ideas of how to approach the game and what they think would be the best thing for it. So I like to see how that's going, and we will keep tabs on this format as it continues to grow and to thrive, and we wish it the best.
Yes.
And so hopefully it will continue to be wonderful into the future. Jeff, let's go to last call. Let's talk about these beers that we drank this evening. As always, we rate our beers on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. However, this has nothing to do with what tier you are in currently, because everyone is in different tiers at different times, so don't feel bad when we say that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. You spit them on the ground, you pour them out. They're gross. Yeah.
Silver beers are just bad or boring. Don't have a lot going on.
Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't really drink this again.
Platinum is solid. You would totally drink it again.
Nice sip timing. That was great.
Perfect, right?
Yeah, yeah.
think I nailed it.
Diamond beers are exceptional. You like these a lot.
Mythic, these are the best of the best. These are the, I don't know, what's the best card in planar standard? I'm going to say Deceit. These are the Deceits of the beer world.
I mean, that's a good card. That's a great card.
Snap Decision, never played the format. I'm going to say Deceit's the best card in planar standard. There you go. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff. Tell me what you think about these. What's going on?
All right, so we have a lot to discuss here, and we got to do it relatively quickly because, you know, people don't care. First one, Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
This wasn't terrible, I thought.
Yes.
I also don't think it was really an Oktoberfest, but it was it was fine. I thought it was kind of a little watery, like a little more. It didn't give me the like bold flavor that I was hoping for from an Oktoberfest style lager, but it was palatable. I thought it was good.
Yes,
it was fine.
I
think if you like just label this kind of a lager, I'd be like, hey, yeah, totally solid. Yeah. The fact that it's labeled as Oktoberfest kind of let me down a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely let you down. I will say it did remind me of apple juice a little bit. There's a sweetness into it.
It's that watery sweetness, right? Like,
yeah.
And
the apple.
It's a good lead into what I think of this.
Yes. So that was why I wanted you to drink that one first, because the second one was the one I was most worried about.
Yeah. So if you thought that one was apple juice, I think this one is lemonade, and or like what's it called when you mix lemonade with bad beer?
Oh, a shandy.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibes I'm getting from this one.
Yeah.
It tastes like lemonade to me. I'm just
it's so this is supposed to be a wheat beer.
Yeah.
I got this because my wife likes wheat beer, and we were drinking this when she was pregnant, and I kind of grabbed it and was like, I don't feel comfortable with you drinking this because I don't know how bad it could be for the whole, thing. Yes, my wife had half of a beer when she was pregnant. It's not that big a deal.
Settle down, folks.
God, calm down. But this is the one where I was like, I think something happened, because this is definitely not wheat. But the thing is, it doesn't taste bad. It just tastes sour.
It's just, I don't know. Like, I was promised a wheat beer, and I got a shandy. Mm-hmm. And I think it kind of, tastes like a shandy to me. I don't like shandies, but people do. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the way it tastes. It's not what I want, and I don't feel like it's what I was promised. Kind of similar to the first one when we were promised an Oktoberfest, and we got a watered down lager with a little sweetness.
And that's why I've been so nervous about this wheat one specifically, where it's just it doesn't say it's supposed to taste like this, and because it tastes like this, and because that's a flavor that I'm worried about tasting in beer,
right?
There was a problem. Mm-hmm. And so I'm now worried about your brewing skills, because it should not taste like this. However,
if it tastes like this, it should be clear from the can, right? Like, it should be
exactly. Because this, if you give this to me and say this is a sour, there's lemons in it or something, I'd be like, great, this is totally fine. But the fact that it's not supposed to taste like that,
if you tell me this is a wheat beer, I'd be like, you fucked up.
That's worrisome.
I was like, did you accidentally trip while you were carrying your lemons into your fridge and they all fell into your beer? Like, what happened?
Yeah. Or was it you just put the wrong label on the beer and this was supposed to be a different one?
This is a shandy, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. But it doesn't have the same feel where I'm like, this tastes like a beer that's actively bad, which is why I felt so weird about it, where I was like, it would be easier to mark this as rotten if I knew it was bad.
I
because
almost
it
think
kind
the
of
most likely outcome is that this was like their shandy and the wrong label got put on this can.
I kind of feel like that's a possibility that like
Yeah.
the wheat beer literally was supposed to be labeled something else and they just screwed it up, as opposed to because like the lid doesn't feel like it was loose. It doesn't feel like there was air getting in here. Like I don't know why it would have gone bad in the can or something.
No, and it's yeah, like, carbonation is there and the like. Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure this is the one I think I might have been able to taste this one when I was there. I had like a tiny sip, but I don't remember it tasting like this, which was the other thing. So that's why I was like, I'm so thrown off. So I have no idea where to put these. Like, through
Look.
all of it,
We can
They're
only
like-
we can only rate what we tasted and assume that what was
It's
in
true.
the can was meant to be in the can.
that's true. It's true. Okay, I agree. I agree.
For me, the weird the weird like watery apple juice Oktoberfest was a bit better than the shandy. I think I'm gonna go gold and silver. I think.
Okay, that's very, very kind of you.
I think.
Because I feel like it's silver and bronze.
I know, but like I am gonna finish the shandy. That's what pushed me up to like.
Okay.
But I think we've talked about this before. The whole like dumping the beer out is probably not a realistic description of bronze.
I think because
That happens like once every 5 years in a beer that I taste or something.
It's
like
true. But
we
like,
need a
we've
whole
had
new rating for that. That's like
bronze is bad, really, really bad. I could if
and this is bad. Every time I take a sip, I'm like, I don't know how to be drinking this. But
It's
I
bronze.
Still,
But it's bronze, Jeff. It's bronze.
you know what? You're right. It's bronze. This one's
Okay,
bronze.
It's bronze.
It is bronze.
Like,
Every time I take a sip, I'm like,
Yeah, I've seen it on your face this whole episode. I know.
that is still here. It's been a long time.
I know. Yeah. So, like,
This sucks.
it sucks. Like, this is the beer that if you get served it at the restaurant, you're like, I'm sorry, this is wrong. You did, you poured the
something's
wrong
up with
beer.
this. Can you?
Yeah, either you poured the wrong beer or something's wrong with the keg or something, but I'm not drinking the rest of this.
Yeah, like I'll never like this, but I don't want you serving this to other people. I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What I do want to say is that earlier when I was talking about that other brewery I had before this brewery, it was like, if any of their beers tasted like this shandy kind of one, I would have been like, thank God. Wow,
my God,
something
a real-
palatable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those ones were like,
That was like sub bronze. Yeah.
yeah, it was, those
That
were
was like, you're
it was
still
the
being
entire,
told what to do by the stupid fairy.
oh, Sparky? Or are you
It's
talking
not
about
Sparky,
Navi?
is it? Like, it's the like Zelda ripoff fairy that's trying to tell you what to do, and you have to play
That's,
against.
yeah, that's, in Arena, that's Sparky.
The fairy is Sparky? I thought Sparky
Yeah.
was the bot that you fight against to like.
Yeah, but
I don't know, whatever.
that bot is the fairy thing.
Oh, okay.
It's the same thing.
Gotcha.
There aren't two different ones. It's the
All the
same.
like color challenge nonsense.
Yeah, it's Sparky. Sparky
That's what
is who you
those
fight.
creatures are.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. I knew it was going to be bad.
These are
And
rough.
it's kind of, these were rough, yeah, and that's why it's taken us so long to drink them. Silver and bronze. Went from a brewery I was excited to show you to, I'm really glad I didn't hype these up because
Yeah, imagine if you were just like, oh man, these. I went on a brewery tour of New York, and these are the best ones. I'm telling you.
that's how I felt. Honestly, that's how I felt when I was giving them to you. I was like, oh, I got some heaters here.
Yeah.
And then I tried them again, and I was like, what the fuck happened? Like, to be fair, I had tasted them on draft, or I had tasted some beer on draft, and it was obviously.
And let's be fair as well, these aren't styles that are meant to sit in your fridge for 8 months.
That is true. We are drinking them way late, but to be fair, I also drank them in like
6
December
months, I guess.
too, and they were also bad. So
They still sucked. Okay.
yeah. So I just let them rot even longer. Though
Cool.
these flavors taste exactly like what I remember from December. So, yeah. I have so much left. It's so
I know,
it's
I
so
just kind of
embarrassing.
soldiered through it.
Yeah. Anyway, damn. Silver and bronze. Brutal.
That was a
But
tough
what are you
one.
going to do? Watery and not the right style?
I'm pretty
or-
sure there's something else is in this can than what we promised.
It really doesn't seem like there's no wheat quality at all. Sorry.
It's not a wheat
Sorry.
beer. It's just not.
We gotta stop harping on it. But
Okay.
anyway, yuck. Let's go to closing time, Jeff. Let's wrap this up. Let's get out of here. As always, you can reach us at Arena Regulars on Instagram and Blue Sky.
You may also find us on Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at @the_Zach on Instagram and TikTok. But Jeff, where can they find you?
You might find me on our Discord channel. Go by Regular Jeff there. It's a great place to come chat about new formats. Okay, that's how we heard about Planar Standard. And
Sure.
about Cube as well. If you learned about Cube tonight or you have a Cube you're passionate about, come tell us about it, man. We want to hear. And in fact, we have our own Cube that runs second Wednesday of every month. It's an Arena Peasant Cube Draft, which means only commons and uncommons. All of your rare and mythic rare wildcards are safe. It's a super cool cube. It's curated. It changes every time I play. It's crazy, and it's honestly really cool. Like the power of the decks you can build out of this thing with just these commons and uncommons. It's really awesome.
They make
like the
powerful
archetypes.
uncommons. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
It really exemplifies what Zach was saying earlier about like really making cube can be whatever you want it to be, and it's super cool. So if that intrigued you, come check it out. The link for the Discord channel is in the show notes.
Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Leave us a review there as well. Go to our YouTube channel. Give us a little comment. All those things help our AIO a lot.
Love it.
I'm still learning this term that Jeff is teaching me, but instead of SEO, it's AIO. Anyway, it helps us a lot, but honestly, biggest thing is we want to hear what you think about the podcast. It means a lot to us, and it makes us feel good. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that new community-driven formats are the lifeblood of Magic. And your goal is to be the hipster that knew it was cool before Wizards did.
Good night. All right, that's fine.